Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so what are we talking about? We're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and the Washington Wizards. They play tonight at 6 o'clock here in Los Angeles at Crypto.com Arena. And essentially, what we're hoping to see is the Lakers blow this team out, even though we're not going to have AD on the floor with a right foot injury, of what I have still not been clear on yet in terms of how bad it is. I don't know. So we're just going to wait this out and hope for the best. But for the meantime, we're playing against a Wizards team that we could probably use his size on the floor against, especially since Wenyen Gabriel is still slated to be out of this game, which is head scratching to me since he was supposed to be back 2 games ago. But we don't have him and we don't have AD, which means we're going to have um, Thomas Bryant continue to ball out. We're going up against his old team, so I know he's going to be spirited. And this is a matchup where if he doesn't give us pretty much the same energy and the same efficiency, we're gonna have a hard time because they have Porzingis down there, who's gonna obviously keep us having to react to his length. That's the most important thing we have to understand. I did some pretty solid homework on the Washington Wizards just now. I really basically traced back all of their games since they last played us about 7 games ago. And one of the consistent things that I saw was that they're pretty average up and down the board. Even when they do certain things really, really well, it still doesn't amount to them winning very much because they're just getting outclassed by the strength of their schedule. They run into the Clippers, they run into some really good teams. You know, face the Bulls teams, face the Nets. They've had some tough games that they've had to face in this last stretch, and it's really tested them. Now, one of the things that I've really looked at in terms of what stood out to me was a guy on their bench by the name of Jordan Goodwin. Jordan Goodwin's a guy who is pretty much good for a bunch of steals and a bunch of assists and a bunch of rebounds. And I always try to point players like that out because if they ever find a way to become efficient scoring the ball, they're pretty much a problem on both sides of the floor, and you don't want to pull them off the floor at all. The only thing that keeps a guy off the floor is a lack of efficiency. That's it. So since we last saw him, he had a really good defensive game against us, had 2 steals, a block, a bunch of rebounds. Since we've seen him, he's been really, really playing nice basketball for his team, with the exception of maybe 1 game. With the minutes that he plays, he really does get consistently a lot of rebounds, a lot of steals, and some dope assists. And when I say some dope assists, he had a dime against the Clippers that made me look him up. That's why I was like, whoa, what the heck was that? In the second quarter, he did some type of dime to, I believe it was Corey Kispert, where he got a layup, but it was like some Ben Simmons, Magic Johnson, Flair stuff. I was like, oh, okay, that's who this is. So to me, I don't know, obviously I haven't seen any of this guy. I just barely found out who he is, but in studying what I'm seeing there, he is someone to target as a high upside player that doesn't yet have cachet. So if you're a Laker team that's going to do a deal with the Wizards, get him. Grab him. Get Jordan Goodwin, their rookie from St. Louis, college St. Louis, not the state or the city rather. But that's where he went to college. Get him out of there. Get him out of there. By the way, is St. Louis in St. Louis? I honestly don't know. Call me ignorant, but that's the truth. That's what it is. Jordan Goodwin is somebody I want the Lakers to bring back with Kyle Kuzma if they do a deal with the Washington Wizards, because he's a guy who no one knows is really good yet, and he is very good. He is. He's going to probably show us more of that tonight. His efficiency isn't there. His plus minus is consistently not very good, so that's something to be understood. He's going to need coaching so that he can be more plus, basically. But as far as being productive, yeah, the production is there. They're not even giving him all the minutes like that, and he's doing all kinds of stuff. So all he needs to do is stop breaking shots, it seems. So yeah, that's something I'm looking at there. That's someone I'm looking at there. Also, Denny Avdija needs to be taken very seriously at this point. He's getting stronger. He's getting very, he's one of those guys who's always had injury issues, but he's a lottery pick a couple years back. So at any moment, he can start really showing what he can do. And I'm sensing he's starting to come around to his confidence. So we need to be careful. He's an inefficient player as well. Some of the similar issues as Jordan Goodwin in terms of not being able to shoot the ball, but can kind of do everything else. But he does shoot the ball sometimes. So in the last game, he kind of shot them out of it against us. And he tends to do that a lot, to be honest with you. Denny Avdija is going to also need a lot of coaching to become more productive. But the production, in terms of the stats, he's starting to get his strength. His body's coming around. So we need to keep an eye on him. And understand, these are both players that steal the ball. So that means that they can force turnovers, and they probably will. Porzingis has also been playing some fantastic defense, even though his three-point shooting has not been there at all this season. Um, he's still a threat, nevertheless. And what I've noticed is he's really, really helping them, statistically stealing the ball and blocking shots. He's doing his job, rim protecting him. When they don't have him down there, it's a nightmare. A couple games ago, they played against the Nuggets. The Nuggets dropped 98 points in the paint, as we've mentioned, since we've scouted them, having played them very recently as well. So we knew about that. And it was one of those things where I didn't want our team to kind of trip because of it. Because at the end of the day, that was the issue. The Nuggets weren't about to score 98 points in the paint on anybody else. It just was that they were so soft in the middle without Porzingis. So that brings me to what I'm saying. It would be wise for us to try to get Porzingis off the floor, so that we can have that dynamic ourselves, especially since we don't have AD tonight or Wenyen Gabriel. So that's something I'm looking at. Also, Daniel Gafford. Please don't forget Daniel Gafford was absolutely phenomenal against us last game. He dunked the ball repeatedly, pretty much didn't miss a shot. He looked like an all-star out there of some high order. So we're going to have to do a better job of, without Anthony Davis, finding a way to keep their bigs out of our paint. Now, they really don't score in the paint like that. That's not their game. They really shoot jump shots. They kind of have average style of jump shooting and stuff like that to try to work around. And so it's one of those things where if they lean on Kuzma to give them good scoring, if they lean on Porzingis heavily, those guys average like 20 attempts each. They've tended to have good offensive games, I guess, looking at the stats, but they don't win those games. So it's kind of hard to tell what helps them win. Not really a whole lot given the stats and who they've played against. So with that being said, if we do what we're supposed to do, they should have no success. They're a bad team. But they are trying to feature some players that they were hoping that we were going to try to trade for, like Kyle Kuzma. So I'd imagine he's going to go off tonight. I would imagine he's going to have a lot of attempts. He's going to try to show us his elite ability to play the game that he plays. And he didn't have his greatest game against us in that matchup. But coming back to this building, purple and gold, you don't know. Sometimes guys clam up. Other times guys go off. And with Kuzma, I don't know what to expect. He hasn't played well against us at all. I don't think he played well in the last year's matchups either. So it's one of those things where hopefully that's a trend. Hopefully that continues. But given the fact he's trying to get traded here or traded somewhere, and this is a road trip where he gets a chance to really showcase himself, I'd imagine this would be a good game for him to go off. So we need to try to stifle him, throw all-star defense at him, and understand that him and Porzingis are going to create a lot of offense for them. But without those two, that offense is going to be difficult to find. Corey Kispert, somebody who's capable of going off, but during this stretch run of games, he has not shot efficiently. He hasn't been himself. But he did shoot well against us, so we need to be pretty careful of him having the ability to bounce back tonight. Monte Morris has been a steady player for them, very good. He had a good game in the last ones, also getting up assists along with Jordan Goodwin. Those two guys are the guys that look to initiate their offense. If you could stifle them, you should stifle that offense. If those guys are getting upwards of 8 or 9 assists apiece, they're going to drop a lot of points on us. But if we could keep them not being able to assist the ball, if we can keep them flustered, they're the only real ball handlers creating anything for the Washington Wizards. They're going down. If we shut down Goodwin and Morris, there's no way for them to get their offense going. So those are the things I'm looking at, man. You want to turn guys like Kyle Kuzma into playmakers. You want to turn Denny Advija into a playmaker. You don't want them comfortably running their offense because they really are a average basketball team. So whatever makes them go needs to be shut down, and they won't go. So that's kind of how I look at it. Rui Hachimura is still out. That's another big piece. Bradley Beal's out, another big piece. I hear the Lakers are talking about possibly trading for that contract, giving up our 2 picks in Russell Westbrook. Part of me doesn't see that as the worst thing in the world because I think that much of Bradley Beal in this system. But his contract is so terrible. It's just one of those situations where I know we can get better value for those 2 picks in Westbrook. Even though Bradley Beal is that kind of player, not that kind of contract. No, we can get better value for that. So I would move on from there. But we can't do a deal with the Wizards that can get us back something. But I wouldn't be willing to give them 2 picks for Bradley. Absolutely not. Give us Kuzma, though, and give us Goodwin. And then maybe we could start talking about some other things as well. That's what I would want to do. Gafford is somebody I'd want as well. But tonight, looking at the Lakers, and I think we're in a very good spot. Coming off a win against the Denver Nuggets, I thought we played really good basketball in most areas. Um, and what we can kind of do is take the momentum from that game and kind of carry it over to this one where the competition isn't as strong. TB really flexed against the Nuggets. I don't see why he shouldn't be able to do that against this team. I thought Max Christie came in, shot confidently, rebounded the ball well, did some great things on offensive boards. That was really what stood out. We always point out the fact that he loves to rebound the ball and looks to help his team with playing defense very well and using his size to overall give us matchup possibilities that aren't really down there when we go with some of the stuff that we're normally going with. And having the issues we've had with size, and now that Lonnie Walker's in a historic slump, I think this is a great opportunity for a guy like Max Christie to step into some of those minutes and prove why he should keep him. As simple as that. I think some of those minutes should now become his for good. I don't think we should be taking a step backwards with him and his progression, given the fact that the only reason why we stopped moving in his direction is because he went out with health and safety protocol, which means there was nothing ever wrong with him. So we can get him back out there and continue the process of having him groom himself into being one of our main role players. Because we do need his size. He does play defense. He can shoot the three. And as he gets stronger, he will finally be able to finish on some of these layups that he's bricking and ultimately get to the line and be a repeated free throw threat for us, for which I think he can shoot the free throw very well. So I would encourage him to do his push-ups, you know what I mean? Do all your upper body work, all your lower body work to the extra amount if I'm Max Christie, because the sooner I can get that muscle on my body, the sooner I can become the main guy the Lakers go to off the bench for defensive and offensive go-to stuff, man. If he turns into his best self as soon as he can very easily be a main player for this team. Swinging Gabriel, Austin Reeves, him, some of these other older guys, they can go. They can literally go if these guys blew into who they're supposed to be. A guy like Scottie Pippen, we call him up. This can be our role player team. We don't need some of these other dudes that are older who are eating up some of our cap and not producing. You know what I mean? So that's what we want. Start grooming these youngsters and start pushing some of these other guys with respect and love out. And keep our team young, keep the team fresh, and keep us ultimately contending for years to come. So this is how you do it. You got to get those role players confident and turn them into your best players that they can be, rather their best selves. So that's what I want to see. Keep going to Max Christie for some of the stuff that we go to Schroeder for. Dennis Schroeder's played some good ball. He's a good player. He shows efficiency levels on both sides of the floor. Can do some good things, but his height deficiency, coupled with the coach's need to pair him next to Patrick Beverley, if nothing else, leaves us at a disadvantage that gives the other team opportunities to win and get the lead. And we saw that directly correlate in the Denver Nugget game. When we went to Max and we went to Troy Brown and we went to the taller guys, we pulled the score close and even got the lead. As soon as we went back to that double point guard lineup, we immediately went down. And it showed in the production on the floor as well. You can see the plays just get botched. You can see guys have a harder time scoring. You can see guys not getting rebounds. It just doesn't work, and Darvin Ham just refuses to walk away from it. And we're trying to make sense of it. We've talked about it on this camera in different ways to try to give him the benefit of the doubt. But at the end of the day, if we're left with size disadvantages, we still need the size on the floor. And guys are getting shot over, guys are getting rebound over, and when you have players like Max Christie who can rebound the ball, that doesn't have to be the case. And so with him hitting those 2 3-point shots, I think it went a long way in getting us that belief that we can put him on the floor. Because as I said with Goodman and Advija, you feel a lot better with those guys if they just be more efficient, hit shots. And so that's what we're seeing from Max in that game. We want to see that continue. Also, Austin Reeves, him and Max play alike in a lot of ways. Not necessarily because Max is not a playmaker, or at least he doesn't appear to be, but in terms of the defensive side of the ball, how they look to get offensive rebounds, how they use their length, that's what I mean. That is pretty much alike in regards to them both. And I love that about them. I can always know that they're going to be looking to jump out of nowhere and get the offensive rebound. And that's something that we can use against a team like this. So that's what I want to see. I don't care that they make mistakes because they're young players, but I do want to see Max Christie, Troy Brown, Austin Reeves in lineups together, because that length and that defensive intensity and their ability to all hit the three-point shot is something that we should be leaning on just as much as coach decides to lean on Patrick Beverley and Dennis Schroeder. I would be leaning on them more, trying to groom them into their best selves more, because they got the length, they can stretch the floor, they can get the boards. It's like a lot of stuff that we're looking to do, they can do it. And then you consider, like, when Wenyen Gabriel gets back, throw him in that mix. Those are 4 players that do everything. So why do we have all these holes that we talk about we have? Because we keep putting players on the floor that are not these guys who could do everything. And you throw Thomas Bryant in the mix. Guess what? That's 5 players. 5 players who are not Anthony Davis, LeBron James, or Russell Westbrook. It's all about how you put the players on the floor and the rotations you use to determine whether or not your holes are exposed or not. Our coach exposed our holes based on these choices he puts on the floor. You ain't got to show all that size that we don't have. Patrick Beverley and Dennis Schroeder, with respect, they don't need to be out there at all. Like, the only time I really need them out there is when I have other issues that require their specific game. Dennis Schroeder can help us with continuity. Dennis Schroeder can be a good free throw shooter. Dennis Schroeder is somebody that can get me a couple good easy layups, who can do a play that'll get a steal on an inbound. He can be a pick and plug player that can help me when I want to be faster. You know what I'm saying? So I can give him his minutes, just focus it in on what it is I need. Patrick Beverley's a defensive specialist. He's going to help other guys be defensive. He's a coach. I don't need him out there trying to play point guard, struggling to score. I know he can't score. I'm not going to put him out there to do that. That's Austin Reeves. That's Max Christie. That's Lonnie Walker. That's those guys. I ain't got to have him out there. It's the choice to do that because you believe in him and you're looking at it a certain way. All that stuff is wonderful, but that's not what's going to help us win the game. What's going to help us is these matchups. What's going to help us is attributes and these characteristics that certain players have that Patrick ain't going to have, that Schroeder doesn't have, because they're just not tall and long enough to have those attributes. And so that's in and of itself the only reason why I'm asking our coach to move on from these 2 guard lineups that he's going through in this small ball stuff, because I literally see rotations right there that I just handed to you that we can go to at times, maybe not every time, but we can go to that lineup at times to get just about everything. You know what I mean? They're not great shooters, but they can all shoot the 3. They're not great ball handlers, but they can all create for themselves and each other. You know what I mean? So it's like that gives me my best chance to keep a lead, compete and switch everything, or at least most things, while keeping Bron and AD and Russell Westbrook resting. And that's what it's about, man. So as long as you play these 2 guard lineups, it doesn't give those guys much rest, because they got to hurry up and get back in the game before the score goes out of whack. And that's just not the way to strategize for this basketball club. So with that being said, I want to see those guys play, and I want to see them all play well. Of course, we talk so much about Thomas Bryant. It's going to be about him continuing to play well and being smarter on the defensive end as it pertains to protecting our rim. The one thing that keeps us from wanting to play him is the fact that he's a 7-footer who doesn't protect the rim very well. For all the great things that he does, he just be guessing wrong when it's time to defend people. And he ends up fouling unnecessarily, jumping when people are pump faking. That is where his game must grow if he's going to try to be the guy he wants to be. You can't be jitterbugs, shaking and all this stuff. And when you're guarding these smart players that are moving slowly and reacting to what you're doing, if you're like that, they're going to eat you up and sit you down. And so that's what ends up happening to him 9 out of 10 nights. He needs to take some of that energy that he's got jittery and refocus it into something that's moving a bit more slowly, a bit more methodically, and a bit more calculated, so he's not as predictable to be overcome by these guys. That's on the coaches and guys like Anthony Davis, who are great at that inherently, to work with him repeatedly till he gets it. And that's what it's about, man. We got to work with him. I want Anthony Davis to work with Thomas Bryant. Do your best stuff against Thomas. Cook him every damn day. Cook him. When I say cook him, score 100 on that boy. Make him make every mistake against you that he's going to make against Joel, that he's going to make against these guys. Make him better, man. That's why it's important for AD to stay healthy as well, so we can get Thomas Bryant to being a better stand-still defender. Because that boy jumps and got the jitterbugs, I swear. It's like a pogo stick, man. You cannot trust him on great players. And that's why his production ends up going to the left for us. Because it's like, yo, I love what I saw from him, but I also know the best center is going to score 100 on him. And so he's got to get better at that. And luckily enough, we got the player on the team that can help him get better with that. Cook him, AD. Cook him in practice. And that's what I want to see, man. We got to get guys better, man. That's it. Lonnie Walker and his struggles, I would sit him all game. Hell, I'd send him to the G League. When you're going to play this bad, you got to get your confidence back up. It ain't even about whether or not I trust you can play well again. It's just that you got to find that again. And you can't find that on the big team while we're trying to play back into our rhythm and other guys need to be on the floor too. We don't have to do that. While guys struggling this bad, just like we did with Kendrick Nunn, you send Lonnie Walker down there for a day or two to get a 100-point, 40-point game or whatever, and he'll come back feeling fine. Because that's what he needs. He's going 1 for 7, missing stuff. Nah. And then our coaches going to continue to play him because that's continuity. No. He needs to go reestablish his confidence, get healthy if that's what's going on, and then he can come back the player he was. As far as I can tell, just pretend there was no games this week. Pretend we had 5 days off like we had between that Nets game and that Detroit game as it pertains to Lonnie Walker. Ain't no games for you this week. Go get right. See, that's how I think. It's like, man, we're in the middle of a long season and the guy's struggling. You're going to send him out there to further struggle, he's going to get hurt. No. Recalibrate his entire thing just like I did with Kendrick Nunn. It worked there. It'll work with Lonnie. So that's how I look at it, man. We just do everything we need to do to get better. And if we do those things, we're going to outthink the other 29 teams in the league and beat them just off the strength of that. And so I truly believe in that too. Like, as I said in one of these previous game videos, these guys aren't as disciplined as you think. You look at some of these Memphis teams, and I like Memphis. They're smart. They're a talented team, but they're very immature. They're led by a very, very, very immature guy in Ja Morant. And I like him, but when it comes to winning time, he's going to learn that some of that energy is going to work against him. He's going to learn that. And so I don't think he's going to win the championship this year. The New Orleans Pelicans are so very talented, but some of those key players, and this is the thing about the Pelicans, some of those key players that they're going to be leaning on, they can't stay healthy. That's the secret about the Pelicans. That depth is slightly an illusion because the players that they're relying on, they can't truly rely on. I'm looking at B.I., his health, Z, even his health sometimes. It's like they don't have the sturdiest pieces. They have enough of them, but I don't trust that everybody's going to be healthy when they need to. Jackson Hayes, he's always hurt. Valanciunas, these guys be missing games. So it's like, if the Pelicans are 100% healthy, there's no one in the West better than them. But if they're not, which I don't expect they will be, they'll probably end up getting outclassed by somebody. Phoenix, issues, even though Devin Booker went for 58 in the last game. Was that going to show up in the playoffs when the pressure's on? We've seen him get shut out in the playoffs. So we know he's mortal. And I think Chris Paul's met Father Time low-key. I think he had either that or he's pulling some wacky version of what Kawhi's doing, trying to preserve his energy for the end of the season. Whatever it is, he's not playing. And so I don't look at them as a strong contender as they could be based on some of those other aspects. So I'm just looking at the Lakers. I'm like, we can outsmart some of these teams. I'm looking at the Clippers and I see what Kawhi's doing. He's probably thinking the same thing. Like, let me just keep my legs because all I got to do is have enough energy for the last 15 minutes of these games to close them out. If my guys keep it close, I can win every game. And that's what he's trying to do. He's doing that, which is exactly why I've presented the strategy to you guys in regards to LeBron, trying to kind of do some similar version of that by taking on a lesser role, even though he can do more. You got to be able to offset what Kawhi's doing over there, rope-a-doping and whatever you call it nonsense he's doing, preserving his energy to thrust on the league at the end. I know what he's doing. Kawhi ain't as slick as he think he is. Some of us are watching you. We know what you're doing. You've been healthy for years. And you're going to take it out on everybody in a Game 7. Watch, go for 60 in a Game 7 like he was never hurt. I know. That's why we need to do something similar. So this is why I want us to lean on our players, man. Lean on our young guys. Let them make their mistakes. Let them do whatever they're going to do. All we need is a playoff spot. Get this core healthy and have those guys playing their best selves. We can beat teams. We catch them off guard and they think they're playing against an okay Laker team. They'll forget that this core is dominant. And Russell is continuing to get better at this role. And it seems like the Lakers have no interest in moving him, which makes me think that he's going to continue to flourish in this role. So we just got to let him make his mistakes, do his thing, figure himself out. And we'll talk about those things as we go along. I'm liking the journey, if I can say anything. Salute to Kobe Bennett. But the journey that we're on with this unit is fun. It's unstable. They're not the greatest. But you can see where these guys can get better. And if this coach can just, do some conventional things to help us matchup-wise, they can win more games, a lot more games than we've been able to. Some of these games we lost, they were winnable, and we know that. So I don't expect any letdowns tonight. The Washington Wizards are not a good team. No disrespect to them, and they ain't doing nothing like that. Well, Kyle Kuzma's thinking about being elsewhere right now. You know, I think Porzingis is probably thinking the same thing. I don't think there's a player on that team that wouldn't mind going somewhere else right now. So it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, let's just go there, rebound the ball, or go at them, rebound the ball, get into their paint, destroy them in the paint, because they don't defend their paint very well, even with Porzingis out there and Gafford out there. They don't. And even with AD not out there, I still expect guys like Bron to efficiently be able to pick his spots and eat. A guy like Austin Reeves should be able to take some guys off the dribble, have success guarding people and stuff like that. This ain't no extra matchup. So take the same intensity you brought to the last couple games, for which we did play against great teams, and beat up on this little lowly Washington team like we did last time. Anthony Davis dropped 55 points on them, and it's very unfortunate he's not going to be out there to repeat that again. But nevertheless, I don't think we need him to beat this team if we're playing the way that we know we can play. I don't think that. Yeah, we just beat the Nuggets without AD. Basically, he went out in the first quarter, barely not even there. So they don't have any excuses for why they didn't beat us. And the Washington Wizards are gonna, they're not gonna be very good tonight. So we should be able to beat them too. And that's how I look at it, man. That's exactly how I look at it. We can stifle their point guards with our guys. I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot of small ball tonight. This is actually one of those games, for all that I've said, where you can actually get away with some of that stuff that Darvin likes to do because of their talent level. So with everything being said, if we do run small ball, we'll probably see better versions of it than any of them other games. And like Patrick Beverley, some of his scoring momentum from the last game, hopefully he can hit some more shots like he did in that last game. We're seeing the corner shots that we've asked him to hit. He's hitting them. So I'm happy about that, and I'll acknowledge that until he doesn't anymore. Keep hitting those corners. I've called them out, and they're falling. So these are the type of things we're looking at. With Winion out, if a guy like Damian Jones' number gets called, I expect him to play well, man. Set sharp screens. That's the key for Damian Jones. Don't let them catch you on them little sluggard screens and call fouls on you, messing up our plays because the screens ain't sharp. Set them damn screens. You know what I mean? Roll to the basket hard. Don't mess up the latency of the play, because the lesser guys are not going to get the calls. They're always going to screw you over against the big names. So definitely do what you got to do to guard against that. Don't pick up unnecessary fouls for your team. That's what role players need to do. Just understand the importance of what your roles are and stay within your wheelhouse so that you don't hurt the team. Get the ball to Bron, get the ball to Westbrook. Let the big guys do what they're supposed to do. Obviously, Westbrook's going to have to play better. Even though we love what he did from a statistical standpoint, if we can point out all your flaws in the games, there's still room to grow. And so he's been shooting some bad shots lately. He's been messing with the clock in some ways that we don't like. So for all the different things that he's done statistically, getting his triple-double and all that, we still ask him to continue to work. We still ask him to continue to take it to his old team, this Washington team, and continue to look to make others better. That's what we need him to do, make others better and rebound the ball for sure. So that's where my head is, man. Efficiency king is always the best version of him. If he's shooting the ball like he did in this last game, I think we'll be all right. Obviously, the three-point shots are never something we want. With AD being out, that doesn't mean we want to jack up threes. Absolutely not. We still want to work the game plan, let other guys get involved, let some of those higher percentage shooters hit the three. Let Max Christie hit a couple of those. Let's see if Lonnie's got it tonight. If not, let's see if Troy has it tonight. Let's let other guys shoot. I want to see Troy shoot tonight. This is one of Troy's old teams, too. He played against the Washington Wizards. I think he was drafted, rather, by the Washington Wizards, I think. If not, then he went there in his second tenure after Chicago. Whatever the case was, this is one of them teams that he played for. I want to see him get some minutes. I want him to do his thing, just like Thomas Bryant. All the old Wizards, him, Russie, and Troy Brown, Russell Westbrook, and Thomas Bryant need to show some pride in the uniform as usual, and take it to their old squad, man. Take it to that old squad, because they got some old Lakers over there who want to take it to us, straight up. So that's how I'm looking at that. There's any other players I want to consider? Like I said, most of the players that they have on the team right now aren't really standing out, playing particularly well. They're really not. They're in a average stretch. They're on the road, played against some tough teams. So if anything, this is yet another one of those games. And we don't want them to gain confidence tonight. We don't want to have no letdowns. We don't want this game to be close and no overtime and none of that. We don't want Kuzma getting 7 and 8 threes off. That's another thing. He likes to shoot a lot of threes. And while that doesn't mean nothing, it does if we're bringing him in. we got to understand, we're a disciplined shooting, 3-point shooting team. You're bringing in Kyle Kuzma, who's used to shooting 10, 9, 8 threes a night. I've seen it. He doesn't shoot less than 5 a night. So if that's what we like that. But he's going to have to make an adjustment if he gets on this team, because that's not how we do things here right now. So that's just something I'm noticing. But we'll see how he's shooting the ball tonight. I'm pretty sure he'll let it fly. And that's what it is, man. Like I said, you can leave Porzingis back there. He ain't hitting him. Yeah, he is not hitting the three. When I say he's not hitting them, it's not falling. If it does fall tonight, it will be unprecedented. So we can leave him back there. And like I said, don't forget about Daniel Gafford. For whatever reason, he has his best games against us. The confidence is there, and he's going to try to dunk the ball a lot tonight, just like he did in the last one. So that's what I got, man. Let's take it to this Washington team. And we have a game tomorrow night against the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix, so we immediately get on a flight after this, which is play a team like that. But that's why you don't want to overlook this game. It's a trap game because of it. You start thinking about the flight and all that other stuff. No, you think about the Washington Wizards, and you get this game out of the way. So by the end of the third quarter, there's no reason to play Braun. There's no reason to play Wessel. You know, it could be a Max Christie show out there. So that's what I want to see, man. Let's beat the Wizards and just do not look over the Wizards. That's what I got. BDR 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.